I'm Leon Todd for G66 and welcome to Tuesday Tone Tips. In today's video, I want to show you how to dial in a preset on the Fractal Audio FM3 from the front panel. So we're not going to be using the software editor on this. Everything is going to be done from the front panel. And I just want to show you how I would go about dialing in a basic rock preset. We'll go through amplifier and cabinet selection, as well as adding and editing blocks. And finally, we'll hear what the preset sounds like in a quick little mix at the end. Let's do it. Let's get started. I've loaded an empty preset on the FM3 and I've connected my PRS Custom 24 to input 1. The output is going direct to Pro Tools, so everything you're going to hear in this video is unprocessed, raw DI out of the FM3. So let's begin by adding some blocks. I want to start with a simple input and output block, as well as an amp and a cabinet block, just to get the bedrock of my guitar tone. We're going to start by pressing the B encoder right here, which takes us to the layout. You can press the A encoder to zoom in and out on the layout, but I normally leave it zoomed out. I'll go all the way to the left and I'll use this value knob here to select input number 1. I'm then going to hold down the enter button, which is going to connect a virtual cable all the way across the grid. I'll then use the value knob to select output number 1, and I'll scroll back to the middle and select an amp block and a cabinet block right next to it. Alrighty. Now for me, I normally select the cabinet first. So let's go into the cab block. I'll hit edit to do that. And we have 2 factory banks, as well as a legacy bank and user banks. I'm just going to roll with one of my user cabinets, which is user number 3 right here, LT TV Mix 2. A really great resource is Fractal's Exchange website, where you can download presets and cabinets. I've shared this one for free, so if you want to try it out for yourself, go to Exchange and do that. The one tweak I make in the cab block is I page to the right and I select the low cut parameter with the C encoder. I turn it up to about 80 Hertz. That's just going to remove some excess low end that is an artifact of close miking a cabinet. You would do this with a real cabinet as well. All right, let's hit exit and navigate to the amp block. If we hit edit, you get a long list of all the different amplifiers. So for this example, I'm going to use one of my favorite amp models in here, the Atomica High, which is right near the front here. Actually, I went right past it. So Atomica High, I can then page across and I have the authentic amp controls. So I like to stress to people that when you're using a unit like the FM3 or the Axe FX3, just treat it the way you would a normal amp. Most people wouldn't get out a soldering iron when they buy a new amp and flip the chassis open and start modifying advanced parameters. So we don't need to do this. Let's just have a listen to the Atomica High at stock settings with that particular cab that I've chosen. So what's awesome now is I have these 2 rows of controls I can tweak. I quite like the amount of gain and the overall EQ. There's just a little bit too much low end. So I'll navigate down, and again, I can use the C encoder here to control the depth control, which is going to turn all the way down. I might go back and maybe just turn the input drive down a little bit, the way I would use a real amp with these 5 encoders here, and maybe bump the mids and the treble just a little bit. Let's have a listen to that. Now, if I want that to be a little bit cleaner, I would just use my volume control on my guitar and maybe swap pickups to one of these split coil modes on my PRS. So that's pretty awesome. Let's go and add a few more blocks. I'll hit exit to go back to the layout. I like reverb, so I'm going to put a reverb as the very last block in there. Let's scroll over to R. We've got a whole bunch of different blocks, but there's reverb. Again, if I hit edit, I can select between different reverb types. One of my favorite reverbs ever is up here, London Plate. Maybe we'll just turn the mix down on this by navigating over with the page control. I'll turn the mix down with this D encoder to about 10%. I'll hit exit and go back to the grid, and let's have a listen to that. This is a pretty decent rock guitar tone. What I wouldn't mind having on there as well is a little bit of delay, because I'm a delay junkie. There are 2 delay blocks available. I'm just going to choose delay 1. I'll hit edit and select my delay type. I just happen to know that I love the stereo BBD. Let's scroll across and maybe let's just go for a simple like 350-ish millisecond delay. One thing that I like to do with these is set the left-right time ratio to about 75%. So it gives me that quarter note, dotted eighth note thing. I haven't touched anything else and I have a great delay. Just adding a little bit of width on there to the overall tone. What I'm going to do though is bypass this block for now. So I can do that by scrolling onto the block and pressing the B encoder right there for bypass. What else would I like in this particular preset? I'm thinking I wouldn't mind something that kind of wobbles around. So maybe, I don't know, a chorus or a phaser, or maybe the rotary block. That's another favorite of mine. The rotary at stock settings. And I would normally use that for a special effect, so I'm also going to bypass that. What else? Maybe some kind of boost would be fun. So let's go in and select a drive block before the amp. There's several different drives. If I hit edit, I get my long list of drives, and there's so many good choices in here. What should I go for? One of my favorites is actually the straight up FAS boost, which is a custom Fractal style boost. Let's page across. Again, we have authentic style controls, even though I know this isn't a physical drive pedal. I'll crank the level up, I'll turn the drive down a little bit, and let's hit exit, this block bypass, and then on. So that is adding some nice thickness for playing lead guitar. All right, I think I've kind of got at least the basics of a preset happening. What I want to do next is to organize it into different scenes. So I would love this scene right here to just be my stock, straight up crunchy rhythm guitar scene. So I'm just going to hit store on this. And scenes will store the bypass state of every block, as well as the channel of each block. So I haven't really used any different channels here just yet. Let's go back to the layout. What I can do is, using this A encoder, if I turn it to the right, that will now select scene 2. So as you can see, the rotary has engaged. Maybe let's leave that off for now. I'll bypass it. And I'll make this my lead scene. So I'll have the drive block engaged. I can set the channel on the drive block by using the little B encoder here. Let's set it to channel A. That's where it was before. Let's go to the delay and turn that on and leave it on channel A as well. Let's hear this. This should be my lead scene. I'll just double check the amp is also on channel A. It's not, it's on channel B. I must have been making another preset where scene 2 had it on channel B. All right, we're good to go now. I like that. Let's hit store. Alrighty, and now I am on my scenes layout with the foot switches. So let's go back to the layout. If I press scene 1, you can see that it has turned the drive block and the delay block off. If I go to scene 2, those blocks magically come on. Let's go to scene 3 now, and let's do something kind of interesting. We'll engage the rotary, which we've done there, and let's go to the delay block, but on channel B. I'm going to dial in a slightly different delay here. Let's go for, say, the mono tape delay, and I'm going to set this up so that it's tied to a dotted eighth note. I can scroll down and select the tempo right here, 1 dotted eighth note. I'm going to turn the, let's see, where's the mix control? Let's page over. I'm going to turn the mix up quite a bit on this. So I've got a dotted eighth note delay, and I've got the rotary. Let's check the amp block is on channel A. Beautiful stuff. And let's have a listen to this now. Let's hit store on that. And now with my 3 scenes, I have access to my main rock crunch, which is just amp, cab, and reverb. Then scene 2 is going to be drive and delay on top of that. Scene 3 adds a rotary, but it also changes the channel on the delay, so I have a different delay tone. Let's hear all of that. Now, of course, we've got access to several more blocks. There is plenty of CPU available. And if I wanted to arrange those into more scenes, I can use up to 8 scenes. What's really cool about the scenes layout is that if I hold down footswitch 3, this will take me to another view in the scenes layout, which is like turning a page in a chapter. And I can have scene 4, 5, and 6 available. Similarly, I can scroll back. So even though there are only 3 physical foot switches here, the way they're implemented into the unit means I can access so many functions within a single preset. All right, let's hear this little preset that I dialed in pretty quickly from the front panel. In context, I'm just going to jam out to a little rock backing track. I'll play with scene 1, which is kind of dry. I'll add in my wacky rotary sound for a section, and then I'll add on the lead scene on top of that. I really hope you enjoyed this Tuesday tone tip video. Tune in next week for more Fractal Audio Tuesday tone tips. I've been Leon Todd for G66. See you next time.